Welcome to the ProptechOS Best of Breed podcast. My name is Erik Wallin. I'm the Chief Ecosystem Officer of ProptechOS, and today's guest is Tomi Teikko, the founder of the Empathic Building. Very, very welcome to have you here.
Thank you.
Been too long time since we saw each other in person. We are going to talk about the amazing journey of the Empathic Building, as well as all the kinds of ups and downs, all the challenges. I guess we will be focusing quite much on workplace productivity or strategies, but you can be using the Empathic Building for quite much more. And as I said, Tomi is the mind, is the kind of the inventor of the Empathic Building for more than 5 years.
8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
But I remember the first time we were actually put together by a joint friend of ours, Henrik Eriksson, which is a really fire starter. And I remember seeing the Empathic Building person. Now everyone wonders what is the Empathic Building, but it's a very, very good visualization of a building in 3D. With lots of graphics, exactly what you can expect when it comes from Finland when it comes to UI design. I mean, it's lovely. And when I saw this more than 5 years ago for the first time, I mean, it was exceptional. And it has just continued to develop. Tomi, please just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have a long history of doing software, more than 30 years of software end user solutions for large corporations. And last more than 10 years with kind of PropTech, if you can call it, smart building, IoT, real-time data. And when I started that journey of that real-time data and using sensors and IoT, I realized that there is not many good visualizations of real-time data. All these BIM models and things didn't support so much like 10 years ago. Not even exactly supporting anything related to like a real-time data. So I just wanted to create something which can bring the real-time data. And you might ask where the empathic comes from. Yeah. Well, that is my concept and dream created roughly there like 8 years ago. And when I created the first concept of visualization, my thinking was that the future of applications are empathic. And the empathic comes so that hardware can be empathic because they are not humans. They are like a piece of software, AI, robotics, and so on, including the biofeedback and biodata, like simple wearable like this Aura ring is a source of the biodata. And including this biodata into the software and analytics, actually software can understand how you feel, your frustration, stress levels, and so on. So that is the secret formula of empathic software. And my thinking was that if you can create empathic software, you can create empathic buildings so that you can adjust indoor air quality environments of the employees and workplace, especially that adjust based on how you actually feel, that you can like perform maximum.
Of course.
Yes.
That brings me over to, I remember when I first heard about the 300 rules that originated from the US, $3 per square feet and year in maintenance energy cost per building, $30 per square feet and year in the lease contract, and $300 per year and square feet is for the actual people working in the building. That you just can see the proportions. And I mean, I'm coming very much from where you're working with energy efficiency, $3 domain.
Yes.
and you're also going up to the $30 domain when you're trying to optimize space efficiency in parts. Yes. But I guess the real big gain is to actually work in the $300 domain. That's to getting maximum value. And I guess also now, after the pandemic, co-working was a concept that was starting to rolling out before the pandemic, and then it came so that everyone is working from home. And I guess if you're talking to managers, they're just kind of complaining about that the employee doesn't want to come back to the office. Yes. And how should we more stick than carrot, I would say. Yeah. But
and it relates actually this 300 because think about the empty office. There is none of those 300. So yeah, it's a waste of time. And do you know, I think the biggest learning we got from pandemics was that the work is not place. This is something when you start thinking the future of work and workplace, you need to forget that it's not the place.
Yeah, true.
And when you understand and accept that the work is not place, then you start designing like what I call the minimum viable buildings, which is actually something that from the software development perspective was innovated years ago. So the ones who are not familiar of waterfall and agile way of developing something, it is that the software were made so that waterfall way, that you design it, you create the specs, you develop the software like 3 years, and then you maintain it 30 years in India. So that's the waterfall way. And this is still how real estate works. And the workplace. You got the workplace modernization budget, and then CFO says that then don't ask me money for next year. And this is exactly what happens when you start like accepting the fact that the work is not place anymore. You know, that there is a new purpose when you create something physical.
Probably the pandemic has actually shown that if people are not working from the physical address of the company's office, that they can actually perform and deliver and being creative. And I guess also, how do you support this kind of hybrid working? I guess it's really here to stay. I think
the problem lies in the leadership. We have a history of working in knowledge environments where the work was placed. There was an office where you go from 8 or till 9 till 5 or whatever was your office hours. And it was so easy to build ways to manage productivity and innovation and everything when you had that physical space. Now when it's gone and work is not place anymore, you know, the competence of manage or lead innovation and people to be productive didn't exist because pandemic just forced everybody to go home. It was not like, hey, let's make a decision that we start working remotely, but it was more or less mandatory thing. The learning didn't follow. And that's the problem that the management of companies, they don't know how to manage people when you have this, you call it hybrid or multi-location or no place location.
We have this example, I think it was a year ago, when the CEO of one of the big telephone companies here in the Nordics, which are making a lot of marketing about work remote wherever you want, put an internal email to his complete staff about that. You have to go back to office. That's where productivity happens. This, of course, came out in the news, and it was so clear that you're selling product, you're selling connectivity and remote work, but you don't believe in it yourself.
Yes.
And I think this is probably very much a leadership question.
It really is.
If you're looking at this from the CFO side, they see, hey, we are leasing 100,000 square feet in that office. What if couldn't we manage just with half of that, 50% of that? I mean,
or 10%.
Yeah, whatever. And
Yes.
see, I think there's an example of actually the headquarters of Microsoft in Sweden that was just a little bit outside the city centers, and they had a full building with, I don't know if it was 500,000 square feet or something like that. But they moved into a co-working place, and it was a 12th. And then they were using community services. And again, I mean that you don't have to be learning. But at the same time, I mean, when you're looking at this, property owners, of course, feel a little bit fear, because if we suddenly list, if they only need 50% or even less about that, how should we have this? I mean, so there are lots of different forces at play here for how should this be managed, and how should you handle it? I know that one of a very big property owner, they see the opportunity, because if they are normally leasing 100,000 square feet and they can say, hey, switch over to activity-based hybrid work style and lease just 50,000 square feet, we will refurbish the office. Of course, there's a slight extra cost for that, but then they see the opportunity to actually lease the other remaining 50% to someone else. I mean, so It depends on how you were looking at this all the time. If you see opportunities or if you see threats.
Yes. Yeah. And exactly. And like I said, that everything starts from the accepting the fact that the work is not the place anymore. And start building your company, competence, strategy, everything related to that. Because we all know that the real good human relationship needs some face time. Especially if you have a new employees and starting, the company's work culture and branding and strategy is implemented very effective way when you are in the same space with your colleagues. You can ask stupid questions and you need to know how to operate in that new environment, and then you can go virtual. It's more easier, but you need
we can just take this meeting. I mean, Tommy, and normally this would have been over Teams or something like that. But now we had an opportunity. We were passing by Stockholm and just catch the opportunity when you were swinging by here to actually meet you. When we're looking at the empathic building, since you've been, as I said, working with this for almost a decade and fine-tuning this, and I know that you have actually been working quite much with this in the US in the last couple of years, promoting and actually rolling it out in the US. And I actually came across, without your knowledge, I came across empathic building in the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see, I mean, how you could actually not use it for tracking people, but also to track life supporting equipment or just beds. But I mean, really important equipment for the
in healthcare, your assets are more valuable than in office. Yeah, like where is my pen? Ultrasound machine is more expensive than video projector.
Yes, might be different. Of course, it's terrible. I mean, all the time we're spending on in conference calls where the projector doesn't work, where the screen doesn't work. But I mean, compared to some sort of life support machine or something else.
The productivity issue in healthcare is obvious. You know that you have higher demand, more elderly, people live longer, different kind of new problems that we haven't seen before because we are aging and living longer. And at the same time, really hard to get stuff in. And there is a huge amount of new regulations coming all the time, which actually makes the administration work of nurses very, very high. There is plenty of studies already shown that the daily routines of the nurses in hospitals, they spend more time with administration than actually treating patients. So the productivity is really bad and really bad situation having educated nurses and staffing problem and still more patients coming in. So it doesn't, this can,
no, and
you don't need to work harder. You need to work smarter. Yes.
Yeah. And I also see the kind of the social demographic curves about our aging population and the increased need for, and I actually saw some study about how our healthcare politicians, how a big thing that they are betting on should solve the problem is more IT. And we're actually supposed to stay in our homes long, especially when we get older. We should not be trying to get the healthcare. So I guess it also, you will need empathic building not only in hospitals, but you will also need to have extensions out later to when you are kind of old.
Yes, and I have a really nice real life experience. My mother is 80 years old and she has memory problems already and she's treated home and she's now part of this kind of new testing where they have this kind of remote visiting there, 5 times more regularly than physical visits were before.
Because
so through virtual, because they can, there is no time for traveling.
And they can see.
Yeah. And they have this device giving medicine and well, that's marvelous. I don't know if my mother was happy with that digitalization because when I was living in US, I actually can use the same device to call my mother. So I can remotely, because there is no end user devices for internet. That simple device which acts as a video conferencing device that automatically answers and well, I have seen the light.
Yeah.
Because my mother's, but yeah, we need to find these tools. And for decision makers, if any of you will ever listen to this, take care. Don't bring more regulations and administration work for nurses. God damn it. No, they have enough that already.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. China, they replicate or duplicate, and the European, what do we do? Yeah, we legislate.
Yeah.
That's what I'm putting the focus on. Right. Well, Tommy, I think this has been extremely interesting. And of course, we're just scratching the surface on everything, but the purpose is that we should keep it sweet. If we're just trying to look a little bit on what we've been discussing here now, especially the importance of being able to visualize and make it useful for both the actual workers, if we're talking offices, so they can actually see if our colleague will they be in tomorrow or not. And you can also, as you said, when you have a more sophisticated feedback, which you have done, someone might say a little bit George Orwell there, but I guess.
Well, that is always when the use case is valuable enough. It will always include the data which can violate your privacy. That will happen anyway. We cannot avoid that. So either we go opposite and start resisting of the future of the development, which I don't recommend, because someone will do it anyway. I recommend to trust these companies that they will respect your data and ignore or even delete the things which can violate your privacy, and use your data only for the use case it is meant to be. Like, for example, you making like empathic applications. I only need to send my frustration level when I'm giving feedback. That's it. I don't need to send how many beers I drink, how bad I sleep, when did I exercise last time. That's irrelevant for that type of the use case that is needed. So please trust the companies. And I know it's hard to trust big corporations, how they use your data, but we just need to trust them. And I also believe in this kind of AI police agents coming. So all the data you collect from the human, there could be your own privacy agent actually removing things which are private for you, and then release your data for different use cases for future. That's the future of like a prop tech. We will see that it's not today, but maybe for future we will see more biofeedback.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But I mean, to start wrapping up a little bit, as we said, thank you very much, Tommy, for the insights into the PropTech with the foundation of the Empathic Building. And I really like your kind of vision that it's just having empathic software and you need to make the building surrounds you empathic. And also when we took a quick dip into it, because they have seen it so many times, we are actually managing the healthcare buildings and see how you are actually using it to visualize or track where assets are and so things.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Tommy, so much for coming. See below, there will be links to contact me or Tommy if you want to have some more information or get in touch with us. And don't forget to subscribe to the ProptechOS Best of Breed podcast. Thank you.